Hello everyone, welcome again to Pharmacode Plus HTML tutorials. So today we'll be talking about HTML tables. Let's go. So tables are very important, and in putting it on your browser, how you input your table on your browser is actually something that your HTML can do. Just think, for example, if you have to present something like a spreadsheet on your web browser, how are you going to do that? That's where it comes in play. So HTML table, in a table consists of the table cells inside rows and columns. So this is just a snippet, an example code. I will explain all of this in the next slide, and then we're going to practice and see how this is being presented on our web browser. So let's go. So a HTML cells, each cell is defined by the TB tag, this is the opening tag, and the closing tag, if you remember from our first class. So the TB stands for data in table data. So everything between the TD tag, the opening and the closing tag, are the contents of the data of the table cell. You're following? Okay.
In HTML rows, it has the TR opening and closing tag, and the TR stands for table row. The table row contains the table header and the table data.
Okay, so HTML headers. Sometimes you want your cells to have like a header. So if that is what you want, you are going to be using the TH tag. So this TH simply stands for table header. Okay, so we are going to practice and see how this plays out in real time. So let's go over to the practice area.
Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is to create a new file. So we're going to name this file table.html, then we'll save it up. After saving up our document, the next thing we're going to do is to get our basic structure by pressing Shift+1. That's a shortcut, and we'll get our basic structure. So I'll just edit the document to table. Table will be the title of this website. So this is table, and I will save it. Always remember to save, very important. So yes, we're working with table, but just need to add more things based on what we've been learning so far. So we'll add a H1 and the paragraph tag. So our H1 would be let's just name it as result for science class. You can name this as anything: result for art class, result for basic 1 student, depending on what your table is about. So after that, we'll also put some paragraph tag, just one paragraph tag, just to explain what our table is about. So let's just say this is the result for science class, for the science class. Let's say the name of the school is Michael's College, so just say this is the result for the science class in Michael's College, and then you save it. Your paragraph can be anything depending on what your table is about, and then always remember to save. Ctrl S for HP or Command S for Mac users. So let's go over the table elements properly. So the first element we're going to be adding is the table element itself. This is very important because this is where we're going to be enlisting every other thing. So the first is the table tag, very important. Open it. Okay, so we're going to open our table row. So remember your opening and closing tag, TR. So open it up, and then we have to include our header. This our table needs a header, so we're just going to be adding those headers right away. So our tag for header is our tag for the header is TH, T standing for table, H standing for table head. So we're just going to put that right away. We need about 5 headings for this particular table. So for the first heading, I'm going to name it as first name. Since it's a student result, you need the name of the student, and then afterwards we're going to put another heading and that heading will be last name. So we have first name, and then we also have last name. And then the next heading we are going to be including would be class number, because we need to know the student class number. And another heading we are going to be adding would be the score, because this is results. What is the result without the scores? So name that as the scores. And then the last, we're just going to be putting remark. So these are the headers we are going to be using. So depending on the table you're doing, depending on what your table is standing for, your table header can be more or it can be less. But for us, we're just going to be dealing on these 5 headers. So let's see how this is going to be looking like on the web browser. Okay, so this is it, results for science class, and you can see your first name. All of the headings we've included is just showing pretty on our web browser, so we can continue coding to add more information. Okay, so we're going to go on now to put each student information. Always remember that your TR element is where every other thing lies under. So in your TRO, your TH is inside your TRO, your TD is inside your TRO also. Your TRO is the row, while every other thing is the column. The TD is the column, the TH also forms the column, like we saw in the browser. So the first data we're going to be adding is going to be the student's name. So we're going to assume that the first student's name is John, and then his last name, let's assume, okay, sorry, let's correct that, it's not TF, it's TD. So that's an TD, opening and closing tag. Okay, so let's assume that the last name of this student is James. So we have John James, and then let's say his class number. Always remember to open your T tag, your table data tag. So we're going to assume that this is the first student, so we're just going to give him 001, and then let's say the person scored 85, and then our remark is going to be excellent. As you can see, we have 5 table headers and we are having 5 information. So let's see how this is looking like on the browser. Okay, so we have John James 001 85, excellent. So you are seeing everything is just matching the heading, the data is matching the heading. So let's go back to our VS Code. So in order for us to be faster, it's like a repetitive step. So instead of us to be doing this over and over, I will just copy this and paste it in like 3 places. Then I will just edit each information. So let's go over to edit. I'm copying it into 3 places. So I will go over now to start editing from the second student. So I will remove John and say this student's name is Ada, and then her last name is Okafu. Then her number is 002. Let's say her score is 75, and we'll just change the remark to good. Okay, or save. Always remember to save, Ctrl S. And then the next student's name is Adebayo, and we are going to his last name, we're assuming his last name to be Kunle, and since it's a third person, it's going to be a 003, and let's say his score. Okay, so let's say his score is 65, and we are going to change the remark to good. Okay, so for the last person, we're just working with 4 students, but we can increase this to whatever we want. So this is J. The last person's first name is J, and then his first name is J, sorry, and his last name is Mike. So we have J Mike. He's our 004, and his score is 55. We're still going to use good as a remark. So you can add more students' name, you can add less, depending on what your table is like, depending on how large or small your table is like. So we're going to see how this is looking like on the browser. Okay, so we have John, Ada, Adebayo, J, everything complete, their scores, their remark, and last name. So this is how you can use your table to work, depending on what your table is meant for, depending on the purpose of your table. So see, until we meet in our next class, we are going to be wrapping everything up and we're going to be doing a project. So it's like this, like it's not very fine because we're just using HTML. So we want to go over CSS class properly. We will style this table into different way and you see how beautiful this table will look like. So stay with us till we meet in our next class, and we are going to be learning more and more. Thank you and see you some other time.